higher, by 2 times just because of the way it is falling through those buildings. So that's what we're going to have to watch out for. There's a lot of windows, there's a lot of pieces of debris.
Wow, they can't even stop lying and sensationalizing the weather. What do you think they're doing to politics? Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. This is Luke Radowski of WeAreChange.org. My goodness, golly gracious, do we have a lot of propaganda and fake news on our hands, a part of the larger PSYOP, disinformation, trauma-based mind control that is literally head spinning. What we hope to do in this video is to calm some of that spin and explain a lot of the bullcrap that's being regurgitated and shoved down your throats by the ruling establishment. And oh boy, there's a lot of it. As specifically, we are going to be talking about a lot of the mistruths when it comes to what's really happening in Afghanistan. And obviously, there's a hurricane that just hit New Orleans. There's a lot of people without power. And I think it's fair to say, when the mainstream media exaggerates, when they fearmonger, they don't help anyone during these situations, since they obfuscate the true reality of what's really happening. And with them doing this a lot, why should we believe them? Well, I don't see any reasons why. And this is why, in part, we have independent alternative media sources that have absolutely done a way better job than they did by being real, honest, transparent, accountable. Yeah, very strange words, especially for those people who are watching the mainstream media, or even worse, a part of it. But this is why some small startup mom and pop organizations that literally started out of their garage are sometimes getting more viewers than the major mainstream media networks. But now it's important to point out that the free market is, of course, being hindered by big tech monopolies that are going after individuals and getting rid of their businesses, their platforms, their organizations, many times for daring to question some of the biggest industries out there, like Pfizer, that is one of the largest corporations in the world, is creating more billionaires than any other corporation on the face of the earth right now, and is also setting their eyes to expand their products for children, something, of course, that we should at least have a conversation about. But we can't. As we're speaking right now, a lot of people are being censored. Their videos are being deleted. Chris Martinson, a doctor, by the way, had his videos taken down. According to Brett Weinstein, YouTube is embarking on a new wave of censorship. As on Twitter, even journalists mentioning specific studies from Israel. Actual scientific, university, government-backed studies, which if you mention, like Alex Bernison mentioned, you will get permanently suspended from Twitter. Even U.S. Congress members like Thomas Macy are being censored. Their tweets are being downranked in the algorithm and deemed, quote, misleading when literally mentioning scientific studies. And, of course, a lot of this is political, just like almost every aspect of coverage from the mainstream media that chooses what they want to be outraged about while looking their other way when they get called out on clear hypocrisies. If you push the agenda of the establishment, you play by a different set of rules. You don't get criticized, as almost everything is becoming more and more political by the day, with direct multinational corporate intervention, as we recently saw with General Michael Flynn, that just had his Chase bank account canceled along with his credit cards because of a, quote, reputational risk. This from a company with 3 prior felony counts against them, as well as severe investigations by the DOJ for price rigging of gold, silver, and other precious metals. This is the same company that literally kept Jeffrey Epstein as a client, despite knowing his extensive criminal record and also internal warnings telling them that the money was used to do unspeakable things to children with. The bank also helped Ghislaine Maxwell manage her tens of millions of dollars. But, you know, an old retired military general who's barely in the news anymore. Yeah, that right there, that's a reputational risk. I don't even know what the guy's up to personally myself. I have no strong opinions of him, but I think it's pretty clear what's happening here when it comes to the censoring, the silencing, the destructions of people's ability to live a normal life because of their political opinions is absolutely dumbfounding and totally, absolutely backwards. That's why we launched LukeUncensored.com, where we're going to be talking about this issue that we can't, along, of course, with the major protest news happening all over the world. Lots of news surrounding that, of course, the mainstream media is not talking about, as well as the major pushback and troubling news coming out of Japan. We're going to get into that, plus a lot more, all exclusively on LukeUncensored.com. If you haven't signed up yet, what are you waiting for? And to be honest, if anything happens to this channel, I think I'm just going to make videos there, exclusively there, and only there, because to be honest, I'm having a lot of fun being able to speak freely, study, research whatever I want to research, and focus on videos that predominantly are focused on how I could actually help people. We have videos on Luke Uncensored that go back, by the way, many years. I think there's videos on here that are over 10 years old that, again, you could only get exclusively here on LukeUncensored.com. Click the link if you haven't yet, because we have a lot of really good, solid stuff waiting for you there. Now, I think it's fair to say that the current situation in Afghanistan is an absolute mess, and it didn't take a genius to see that, since, of course, many people, especially in independent media, other luminaries like Julian Assange, were warning people for close to 20 years that this was an utter disaster, and now, finally, the mainstream media is paying attention. And if you actually pay attention to what's going on right now, it's not just the mess. It's far more of a deliberate, nasty, absolutely horrible situation that is being made worse right now with the absolutely nonsensical and chaotic moves of this administration. Now, the latest moves that we're hearing is that there was rocket attacks on the Kabul airport, which the United States troops are supposed to be out of in just a few hours. This as the core diplomats out of that country just flew out of there. As the U.S. Pentagon is announcing that they were able to airlift 122,000 random people out of that country, out of the which 5,400 of them were American citizens. What's going to be the fate of these random Afghans? Where are they going to be ending up? What's going to be the longer implication of flying this many people in? Well, of course, only time will tell. But I think there's a fair criticism to make of this administration prioritizing random people over, of course, American citizens, some of which are still stuck in Afghanistan, finding no way to leave, as, of course, there's many allegations from people on the ground that the U.S. State Department has been making deliberate efforts in order to stop a lot of the evacuations and help from proceeding when it comes to rescuing some of these people. These are just some of the accusations. As, of course, we're also finding out today that the U.S. Secretary of State was literally on vacation as Kabul was falling, and these travesties are absolutely nothing compared to, of course, the latest information about the propaganda that we're finding out around ISK. This is, again, a new name created by the Pentagon and media industrial complex that has been spinning it out there to the general public about this new alleged offshoot group that allegedly is more radical and dangerous. Now, it's also important to note here that just a few years ago, the Pentagon and the CIA were sending in droves of munitions, weapons, firearms, navigation equipment, and money to Syria, which, of course, a lot of it went towards the hands of radical Islamists, a part of ISIS. Michael Flynn, who just had his credit cards taken away, was Obama's national security advisor at the time, and he whistleblowed how this was actually happening. Could be why he's facing retribution right now, but we have to understand, the CIA also, right before these attacks, held in-person meetings with the Taliban, with the CIA director literally flying to Afghanistan to meet face-to-face with them, as previously the CIA financed the Taliban to fight the Russians before. There was also an alliance in the 90s in Europe. Their exact extent and relationship is still largely unknown here, but this is the group that's being deemed the new boogeyman. This is the group that the United States warned would attack the airport at Kabul, and reportedly this is the group that allegedly is responsible for it. Now, if you actually look up the term ISIS-K, you get a lot of propaganda outlets talking about how U.S. drone strikes took them out, how the Biden administration very aggressively and methodically was able to prevent yet another attack by taking them out and launching an airstrike against them. There's even Biden administration members and mainstream media articles talking about how they already took out the people responsible for the Kabul airport attack, how they were able to thwart and stop another imminent attack with this latest airstrike. Donald Trump chomping at the bits here, insisting that he would have taken all of them out, specifically calling them now ISIS-X. CNN is doing interviews with random characters, talking about their chilling interview with the leader of this group. And allegedly, according to the mainstream media, the Biden administration had a major victory by launching this strike and protecting the Afghan people along with U.S. military servicemen. But, big old but, is that true? Could we believe the official story? As yesterday, of course, we were telling you how this official story played out and how there should be actually a lot of doubt here. And now today we're getting confirmation of our natural skepticism and doubt of this official story that they're trying to shove down everyone's throat, as already there has been no evidence presented at all of any individuals affiliated with ISIS-K, or as Donald Trump calls them, ISIS-X, that were killed in this U.S. airstrike. However, there is evidence that there was a number of small children that have been, as we have witnesses and family members coming forward saying that this airstrike against ISIS-K really killed 10 people, including 7 children. With one survivor of the attack talking about how she thought this was done by the Taliban, but then she found out that it was Americans, specifically the military-industrial complex, that launched this attack against them and their family members. Now, originally from this airstrike, we heard that 3 children were killed here along with other innocent civilians. Those are some of the reports coming in. It's very hard to independently verify a lot of these reports, and that we still don't know exactly what really happened here. But if we're going along with the usual trends, these initial accounts seem credible enough for the Daily Mail and the New York Times to report them. And we have to remember that the mainstream corporate media always talks about how these drone attacks only goes after militants and terrorists, when in reality we're finding out that 90% of these attacks usually kill people who are not the target of them. Yes, after compiling classified documents, there was a report released highlighting how 90% of people killed in drone strikes were actually not the intended target. Many of them citizens, some of them children that were, of course, negatively affected here. So is the administration and the mainstream media being honest about what happened with this latest airstrike? Well, there's a lot of things suggesting that it actually isn't. What was the Pentagon's response to this? Well, they issued a statement saying, quote, "We are aware of reports of civilian casualties and we take these reports very seriously and we are continuing to assess the situation," which, of course, highlights more specific concerns about this exact event. There's also a lot of other information and reports coming in from the survivors of the Kabul airport attack, the initial one, that are telling people that it was only a fraction of people that were killed from the blast, while most people were killed by the stampede and gunfire, as there's reports of Americans shooting people, shooting into the crowds, thinking that there might have been more bombers in them, as of course the crowd panicked. As we're getting on the ground reporting, specifically talking about how a lot of the deceased had bullet holes and bullets stuck with them. What's going to happen here next? Well, the situation already is a powder keg, but I think these reports coming in, contradicting the U.S. military-industrial complex, contradicting the Pentagon and their snazzy, scary-sounding new terrorist group that the media is eating up, and of course contradicting that very mainstream media that regurgitates their claims without any skepticism, doubt, verification, or accountability. Afghanistan is a powder keg, especially with the billions of dollars of weaponry that was just thrown in the middle of there. Expect more trouble ahead, which of course we are going to be keeping a close eye on. What do you think happened? Which reports do you initially believe? Are you fact-checking everything you're hearing? Are you critically thinking about the information that's being thrown at you? If you haven't, You should. That's what we hope to promote. And if you think we did a good job at that, share this video with your friends and family members. It is more imperative than ever that you do this. Very simple, easy step. You don't have any family members, you don't have any friends, that's fine. Double-click the URL, send it to a random person. Someone's spamming you, send them back this video. And because you do, I am still here. I have a lot more to say, and I will be saying it specifically on lukeuncensored.com. Hope to see you there later on today. Love you guys. Stay tuned for more here on wearechange.org.